Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This one comes from Demetri Scobellitti. Hello, John and crew. This week marks the 20th anniversary of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Dear God.
From all the way back from 2002. Crazy. What are your thoughts on this film's importance to the superhero genre? And do you have any fond memories of the movie? Thanks and keep up the great work, guys.
It is so crazy. It is absolutely nuts to think about Spider-Man being 20 years old. Today is the official 20th anniversary of the movie. Now, as far as the special memories, I've told this story before that it was back probably a month or two before the movie opened. Star Wars Celebration was happening in Indianapolis, and we were there screening our movie. And we got invited with me, a buddy of mine who was at Lucasfilm, the vice president of Lucasfilm, one of the directors of Blair Witch Project, and a couple of other of us got invited to go to this late night private screening at this movie theater where it was just the group of us to watch this Spider-Man movie that was coming out. And that was my first exposure to the movie. And so I'll always remember that. That was a great night, great fun. And to see Spider-Man swinging around in the city, something you never thought. Because I remember as a really young child, there was that one TV attempt at Spider-Man and something else. It's like, yeah, that never lived up to what was in your imagination, right? But seeing that there, that was incredible. As far as its importance, you know, we often go back to, I will often talk about, and a lot of producers in Hollywood today who make the big blockbusters, including Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight producer, talk about that first X-Men movie as being the movie that made the Hollywood producers and studios go, wait a minute, we can make a movie like that? We can do a comic book movie, not just have it schlocky and colorful and whiz-bang. I mean, Blade had come out before that, but it didn't have that impact. It didn't make the producers and the studios go, huh, but when X-Men came out, you know, they all said, this is something we can do, which that was kind of the birth of the modern era of comic book movies. But I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for 2.5 years later, for Spider-Man to come out and nail it as well, I mean, it's fine that one movie comes out, but it's not until you have like 2 or 3 in a row that you actually start a trend. You start, you know, a new momentum for something, right? Spider-Man comes out about a year before X-Men 2 comes out. And it just really solidified what that first X-Men movie had done. And I don't feel it's hyperbole in the least to say, in as much as I say that, listen, we would not have today's comic book movie golden era that we have right now were it not for X-Men. But I also feel very confidently saying the same thing about the Spider-Man movie. Had Spider-Man not come out and followed up strongly from what that first X-Men film had done, if it had not come out and wowed the audiences and made us believe that a man can swing, you know, going back to the old, okay, maybe that's okay, phrasing, I get it. But if you're going back to the original.
I was going to say, wow, John.
You go to the original.
A lot of revelations
Superman
on this episode.
If you go back to the original Superman, you know, you'll believe a man can fly. You'll believe a teenage kid with a web and whatever and his spider powers can swing through the city. Like, you believed it, you embraced it, and we all loved Toby. Toby is Spider-Man, all that kind of stuff. If it was not for that movie, I also believe we wouldn't be where we are today. So I really don't think you can overemphasize the importance of this first Spider-Man movie. And I think that gets reflected in the fact that one of the biggest pops, I mean, not as big as On Your Left and, you know, Avengers Assemble, but one of the biggest pops you're ever going to hear in movie theaters is when that portal opens and in comes walking Tobey Maguire. I mean, he is still completely beloved as this character today. So, hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Policy Genius. Now, when it comes to the topic of life insurance, I get it. A lot of people ask, well, why even get life insurance? Well, listen, if someone relies on you financially, whether it's a child, a parent, or a business partner, life insurance gives you peace of mind that they have a financial cushion if something were to happen to you. Policy Genius is here to help you, and they're going to make sure you pay as little for it as possible. By making it easy to compare your options from top companies, Policy Genius can help you make sure you're not paying a cent more than you have to for the coverage you need. So here's how it works. Policy Genius is your one-stop shop to find the insurance that you need at the right price. Just click in the link down in the description or head on over to policygenius.com/Campea to get started. In minutes, you can compare personalized quotes from top companies to find your lowest price. You can save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. And the process is easy because the licensed agents at Policy Genius are on hand through the entire process to help you understand your options and make decisions with confidence. Because ultimately, the Policy Genius team works for you, not for the insurance companies. And you can feel confident with Policy Genius because they don't add on extra fees. They don't sell your information to third parties, and they have thousands of 5-star reviews all across Google and Trustpilot. So again, guys, head on over to policygenius.com/Campea or click on their link down in the description below to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. And thank you again to Policy Genius for sponsoring this episode. I completely believe that you cannot overemphasize the importance of this film, the ramifications of this film, the influence this film has had, and you still see its influence even in Spider-Man movies today and beyond. So, yeah, man, happy birthday to Spider-Man, 20 effing years old.
Yeah.
Unbelievable this movie is that old. And yeah, give it its due. Rob, when you think of Spider-Man, any special memories? And how do you set the context for its place in film history right now?
Well, I think you did a pretty good job of setting that up. You know, when X-Men 1 came out, obviously I'd gone to film school with Bryan Singer, so I had known him. And when it came out, I was pretty shocked by it opening in Auschwitz, you know. But what sold me on X-Men 1 was there's a conversation early on when Charles Xavier and Magneto are having a conversation. And Magneto's in the foreground. Are you in my mind, Charles?
We're the future, Charles.
Yeah, and
not them.
It was done. It was so adult, and it was so not like what you'd think a comic book movie was. But there was a maturity level to it. So, and it might have been a one-off. You know, Lauren Shuler Donner, who produced X-Men, was not a fan of the shape the movie was taking while they were making it because she thought it would be more comic booky.
Right.
The thing about Spider-Man was, it was so, the colors, if you look at it, the colors pop off the screen. It was the antithesis of what Bryan Singer's X-Men was. But when you saw that, like you said, everyone loved Toby. The first half hour of that film is so wildly entertaining as he's learning how to use his powers. And there was that controversy like, well, why does he have organic web shooters? You know, Peter Parker made his web shooters.
Right.
But I liked that he had organic web shooters.
And we wouldn't have had that great joke in No Way Home had they not gone that way.
Yeah, no. And I think that, remember the lead up to that, they had to take it away, but there was a great like extended teaser that they shot that ended with like a bank robbery, and it ended with webbing between the two twin towers and the helicopter.
Stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, stuck in the middle of it. They had to take, and that was, I remember seeing that and being totally excited about it. But I remember thinking, you know, the X-Men could have been a one-off, but like you pointed out, it was a different studio, you know, Sony, Columbia, whatever, they had made it. And with Fox making X-Men, Sony, now we talk about putting everybody together. But at the time, X-Men was not a fluke. Like you said, Sony proved that multiple studios could make comic book movies.
Yeah.
With different personnel, different directors, different approaches, and they could both be wildly successful. And I think that was those two movies. And then X-Men 3 X-Men 2 comes along the next year. Now you had 3 movies that were successful. So this was not a fluke. This was the end. This was the beginning of the new age of comic book films. So we're now 20 years in. And so it's appropriate. We have a Doctor Strange movie opening this week, directed by the same man who directed Spider-Man.
It's his week, man. It's Sam Raimi's
you've
week.
got 20 years of Sam bookending this entire juggernaut that has become, especially Marvel. He didn't go do DC. It's a Marvel movie. So Raimi went, and Feige worked on this first Spider-Man.
Yeah, he was one of the producers.
One of the producers. So it's, I think, look, this is the culmination. We saw, you look back 20 years and you see the beginnings of it, and now look where we've come. And I would say it's a success story for no one else better than us. We, the audience, we're the ones that have won.
Chris, you're looking back at it now. I think you were just 22 when this movie came out.
22?
I'm just
How
kidding.
dare you?
But when
Wow. You really 42.
The chat's going to be like, she's the other Chris Carr again.
So, like, when you look, do you have any fond memories of watching this movie at any point in your life? And how do you see its position and its importance or lack thereof in film history and where we are now?
Oh, man. I mean, I remember going with my friends to go to the Tinseltown Theater in the Woodlands, Texas. And we went and saw this movie. And I was so excited because I was the only nerd in my friend group. Rob and I have talked about this a bunch. We would have been best friends in high school. And so it was finally... This was when superheroes were becoming part of the zeitgeist, right? And all of a sudden, I had cool information to share with people. I was able to talk about comic books in a way that I didn't get mocked for, which was very exciting. And I'm so glad Rob touched on this too, because, you know, we had X-Men, we had Blade, but they were these kinds of, let's try to ground a superhero story, and seeing those vibrant colors and seeing something that felt like it just was ripped from the pages of a comic book was so fulfilling to somebody who still was like walking around with their X-Men trading cards. So yeah, I just love this movie so much. And it was just like, as a teenager too, like the upside down kiss and everything was just
still
like
completely
the most romantic
iconic
thing you've ever
comic book movie
seen,
shots
right?
ever.
Yeah. The fact that MJ just knows at the end because of that kiss. Oh, it's so good. It's such a great, great film. And what a wonderful full circle moment for Sam too, to have this new, what I'm hoping to be excellent film. We're going to get into it later, but to have this kind of moment 20 years out is really, really special.
Right on the heels of another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else, John? Two things. The fact that X-Men 2 and Spider-Man 2 exceeded, in most cases, the originals.
Yeah.
That, if you didn't know already, the fact that those two movies outperformed the originals and became as beloved as they did. I mean, X-Men 2 and Spider-Man 2 are still considered two of the finest
comic book movies ever made. Yeah.
That showed that it wasn't a fluke. You know, it was a trend, and it was something that could be aspired to. So, I mean, I think that it really did kick it off. I just can't believe I'm that old.
20 years. Guys, the question is for you. It's the 20th anniversary of the release of the original Spider-Man. Do you guys, number one, were you even alive when it came out? But if so, do you guys have any fond memories when you saw it? How do you see its place in comic book movie history? Whatever your guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.